with me. Good God, let's eat! Okay, so Ballaz In Da Middle, man. We're back in his house. We're back in those stars, our podcast room. You got my man, Hutchie Hutch.
RB, the hitting machine. Once again, we're back. Hey, before we even get there, let me just go and start it off. Don't forget to hit us up on our social media. You got YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and as Hutch would do, X. and YouTube. And when you're on YouTube, don't forget that notification button so you know when I upload our next video. And on that one, I'll pass it back over to Hutchie Hutch.
Okay, thanks so much.
And let's roll.
Let's do this. So today we've got a guest with us. His name's Mark Cohen. And, I just want to go through his accolades with regards to Mark and what he's achieved playing, American football. He has got the most receiving and touchdowns in a season, that being 33 back in 2005. Second most catches in a game, which was 16 against Glasgow Lions. Yep. Top 10 for most receiving yards in a game, which is 268 yards. This is against the Bulls playing for Coventry. So he probably rubbed his face in their face in that one. Top 10 longest touchdowns. Catch 94 yards against East Kilbride.
Yep.
Inducted into the Hall of Fame for the Birmingham Bulls and the Coventry Jets. Them retiring his jersey as a number one. Twice national champion. 3 times champ for Coventry Jets. And spent a season with us at the London Monarchs. We have Mark Big Bird Cohen. What are you saying, man?
Gentlemen, lovely to see you. Thanks very much. Honestly, really good to see you guys.
Good one. It's great to have you on here, Mark, man. So us Londoners, man, have no clue how you guys up north got into American football, man. So share with us, man. Where was you? What got you into American football? What was you doing? How did you jump into American football and not cricket or rugby or soccer like the national sports? Why American football?
It was soccer that got me into American football because I was a goalkeeper. Okay. So I used to play up in Chelmsford Wood with a decent team, and I was actually half decent. I had a couple of semi-pro games as well in goal. And then one of my players who I was playing with, he was in American football. And he said, I really think you should come and have a go. I reckon you'd be good at catching the ball, being a receiver, And I was like, what does it entail? Mm. So I thought I'd give it a go. And I remember going to Sutton Royals all the way out there, catching the bus, going all the way out there, having my first training session. And they just says, what can you do? I said, I don't know. I've never played before, as you do, complete rookie.
What year was this, sorry? Just so we get time.
This was way back in 88.
88.
This was 88.
So
yeah.
You must have been 17. 16, 17.
18. 18. Yeah. So I just literally started. And you know what? I remember it wasn't too bad. I remember going as well with goalkeeper gloves. So all the receiver gloves that we have, goalkeeper's gloves, all right? And I looked like Kenny Everett with them great big hands. Remember the Kenny Everett days? I was like that, but that ball, I was catching everything. It was easy.
I'm not surprised.
The guys were saying to me, like,
I'd give anything to see that.
Honestly, goalkeeper gloves. And I used to buy on Sundico. That's what they was. I'll never forget it. Sundico goalie gloves. And I kept buying them every game. That's what I used to play in training.
What semi-pro soccer team was you affiliated to before you made it?
Because it was just one of our locals up in, so it was Meadway up in Chelmsford Wood. I was just playing for them, and then I played for Coleshill Town. I had a couple of games for Coleshill Town. But what I used to do in the old days, it was play soccer in the morning on a Sunday morning, and then get changed, and then go over and go training for American football in the afternoon.
Got it.
And that's how I used to do the both. But my first game ever, they put me as a tight end.
Uh-huh.
Sutton, and I had to run a 5-yard out, and I ran a 5-yard out and caught the ball, And I just stood there, and this guy whacked me, knocked me flying. I got up, and I said to the ref, he's just hit me. And they all looked at me as if to say, what are you thinking? That's the whole point of the game, bro. I literally didn't realize they could hit you that hard.
What division was that when you first?
Oh, we was down in division. It was a Division 2 at the time. So we had Division 2, Division 1, then it was 1A, and then you had like the Premier with the Bulls and all the rest of it. So it was just, I wasn't as passionate as once I'd moved on. I just did it for the sport, to keep fit, because my mates played. And it was one outfit. The guys they trained in mud. They trained in the torrential rain. There's none of this rained off business. It was a rugby field. You got covered. They used to hit you hard, but it was good training.
Yeah.
It was good, especially the hit-uns, they hit it up, down into the mud. They'd make sure you was right by a bloody puddle as well, full of mud, and it was down, up, down, up. And it was a good, it was a good awakening.
Man. Grind the old football. That's with refs and coaches that didn't know the rules.
That's what side, man. It was the same thing.
Grind me, none of this looking pretty with wristbands everywhere. It was none of that. And I think my break came when I left them. I played for them for 2 years.
Yeah.
Never scored a touchdown. I scored a 2-point conversion on my last game for them. Mm-hmm. And then I went to Redditch. And that's where it just seemed to open up for me. We had a guy that could throw the ball, Dave Stanton, who used to play at the Bulls.
So
we went to Redditch.
Or did you move out to X or Z at that point?
Say again, sorry?
Was you still playing tight end, or did you move out to X or Z at that point?
No, I'd actually moved out then. So they'd actually moved me out. I think it was my size more than anything. I've never been the quickest. I think the fastest 40 I've ever done was a 4.6 flat. And that was on a track. I've never been the quickest. But I can get open. And that was the difference. One, I can catch the ball, or could catch the ball, but I could always get open.
Yeah.
I wasn't Jeremy's speed. Never in a million years. That boy was like lightning, But we always, whenever I played, they put me on the outside, and I just found it easy just to run, get into a space. But I was always greedy, and anyone that's played with me will tell you that. I'm always in the huddle. Give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. And he used to cheese people off, and I see it now, but I didn't then.
No, I get it. I get it, man. I get it. When you're in the huddle, man, you want the ball. You want to make the shit happen. Yeah. And man, I fully get that, because when I was in the huddle, I want the ball to come to me. No, I don't know what to run the ball every down.
The average receiver weren't as tall as him.
But this is the thing. He obviously played strength. Yeah, it's like, how tall are you? He got 6'3"?
No, 6'5".
6'5". Look at that. That's
fine.
Strength right there.
There was no.
But do you know the thing with that?
That's all. Everyone was short.
But it works against you, because likes of you, Roel, I remember the games when London used to put you up front. And as soon as you came up here, that was it.
Yeah.
Because you'd get in the bump.
Yeah.
That's why I had to get low. That's why I used to do that ear bashing. I'd stand there for the swim, catch them right at the side of the helmet, swim round and go.
But that's the,
But there was but there was only 2 people that could stop me. That was Roel, and it was Trevor McCarthy when he was at the Bulls.
So it's funny, man. That's a question I want to come back to you on when we get further on into your career. Yeah. So you then, I want to hear about the Bulls, man, because the Bulls were our nemesis. The Bulls, bruh. I tell you,
That was hard-nosed football.
I tell you,
Oh, yeah.
that was whenever we played the Bulls, you had to buckle up and I'd ring it every game.
Whatever problem coming up to that game, you could let it out.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Practicing against the London Olympians defense was probably the best thing that ever happened to me in my career. The second best thing was playing against the Bulls, because I don't know which defense was better. I'm going to go out there and say this, Road, because that secondary and that linebacking core, they could bring it. Just like you guys, they could bring it.
Nui, yeah. For me, I knew, do you know what? It got to the stage where twice a season, I would book the Monday morning off work. And that was when we played you guys. All right? Our slant, a number 2, yeah? In the huddle, John Riggs, Bird, 7 the hard way. Because I knew when I catch that ball, I'm going to get lit up. You knew it. But it doesn't hurt if you catch the ball. If you drop it, it hurts twice as much.
Of course, all right,
You see what I mean? It hurts twice as much. But the Bulls wasn't no fairy tale. When I went to the Bulls in 92, I first went to the Bulls.
Yeah.
And I was one of 9 receivers. 9. And I remember every time it came up to me, I'd run my route and I'd catch the ball. And then when it came to scrimmaging or the second team, I never got on. And they always put me to the back. And I remember the one training session, Moon, at the time we had Coach Moon, and he turned around and he had an absolute fit on the guys because they were all dropping the ball. He went, look at this boy here, get in front. And I got up, ran the route, caught the ball. He said, why can't you lot do that? But I was never getting the chance to start there. So I left and I went to Coventry. And I played against Birmingham in a pre-season.
Hold on. Let me get my timelines right here. So you were a starter at the Bulls?
Not at the start, no. So from Redditch, I played a season in Redditch, which was 91. 92, I went to Birmingham in the pre-season, wasn't getting a look in. So then Coventry Jaguars at the time had set up with Coach Jerry. So I went to Coventry Jaguars in 92 and played against the Bulls in a pre-season friendly. We got battered, but Bulls hadn't been scored on the whole season prior. So I scored on them, you see. And it was kind of, for me, it's my kind of vengeance back at them to say, hi, you didn't want me, look what I can do kind of thing.
So when did you go back?
And then
it was like
93, I went back to them.
Right. Okay.
And that's when I started. But I was with the likes of Paul Sinclair and Michael Price.
Yeah.
Michael Price has got the best hands I've ever seen playing football. I've never seen anything so soft. And when he catches a ball, it's like slow motion. You just see his fingers just like this, bang. Never had gloves, never had tape. And you never heard him on the field. Never heard a word. He'd just run his routes, catch the ball, do the business. Me, I was the gobby one.
So what was so in your BAFA, in your British American football career, which DBs did you hate going up against and why?
There's one right there. Right there. Because it didn't matter how many moves. He was like a mugger after your wallet. He was always in your pocket. He was there all the time. Okay? Roel's got to be up there with Trevor Carthy. There was only 2 people I used to hate going against, Roel and Trevor Carthy, because I couldn't get off the line.
Yeah.
And if I did get off the line and I'm free and I'm thinking I'm free, I've left him, I've done a stop and go. Ball's coming and it's like the ball's taking so long to come and he's just jogging. He's up there, bang, pats it out of the way.
Mark,
There was a tall.
It helps when you can run a 4-3 naturally.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, but then there was a mixed race guy. I can't remember, skinny guy.
Yeah.
Guys watching this will know who he is, and I would always love to shake that man's hand. It used to make me laugh because he was a black guy talking with a Scottish accent, and I kind of looked at him as if to say, "What?" But he used to hit hard. He used to hit me hard all the time. But you know what? When we was talking about Bulls London, I've never got hit as hard in my career as practice at Birmingham Bulls. I used to get hit harder at Birmingham Bulls practice than I did on a game day. Any team, apart from London.
You know why? Because that's going back to that. That's how we used to practice when we knew we was going to play the Bulls.
Yeah.
I mean, we laid the wood anyway, but we would always lay the wood on the offense to get them prepared.
We never leveraged, but when we were playing up at those doubles, 93, 94, 95, we never leveraged that because we didn't know how to. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? We're not that. So practice and Olympians, and I'm sure it's the same thing with the Bulls, it was game day. It was like game day. And that's what made it well, I'm going to say it for myself, in my opinion, that's what made it easy for me. When it came to game day, playing against other teams, the defense wasn't as strong as the Olympians or the Bulls.
Yeah.
So it was much more easier. Another team that had a pretty good defense was the Panthers.
Yes. John, I was going to say, John Wise played a couple of seasons for them. Yeah. And I know John's still in the game. And John was just one of those guys that he had elusive speed. I don't ever know what his 40-yard was, but he had elusive speed. And he was just a dancer, that boy. Whenever if he got an interception, he was gone. I remember playing against him when I was at Redditch and he was at Stoke. Then when he went to Leicester, one of them pictures actually is with John when I caught a touchdown on him and he had his hand in there. Yeah. But he was another one of those. He was just an awkward DB. He wouldn't fall for any of the moves.
Yeah.
I had to work for every route. That was the thing. It was working for every route. The guys I think of today, if they saw a Bulls training session, you'd think it was a full-on fight. Defense hated offense. Every single yard we got, every interception they got, they would run it all the way. And it was bang, bang, bang. Honestly, you came off that field, you knew you'd been at practice. You got hit and you got hit hard.
No, I feel you. No, I know, right. And you know what used to make me laugh as well? You think about it. None of us ever had like new helmets. No. They were always like, we had them for years. The padding we got in them, but we're still banging hard.
Still banging hard. Guys, if you can just imagine though, let's say both teams were in the US and we had US coaches and we had US facilities. Yeah, a lot of those players could have easily got into college, could have easily got into NCAA, D Roy D's. And I can sit here and I can say that because I'm in a position to say that I can say that because I've been there and I have played in NFL Europe. I've seen the caliber of players that are coming out, and bruh, the guys in this country that when we were playing, they were hungry, man.
Yeah,
they were hungry to play the games, lay the wood, get interceptions, touchdowns. That's such a buzz. Yeah. No disrespect to American players, but where I'm coming from, there was so much hunger just to play the game and be, successful in the game.
I think the Americans kind of took it for granted because it's their sport. They're supposed to play it. Where we went to work, we had children. You know what I mean? That was like, that was our passion. We had a 9 to 5. Out there grinding our 9 to 5 and still going to practice in the evenings.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly that.
Where they're in school.
Having to go to work.
And they're having practice in the afternoon, you know what I mean? But we're the same age.
And there was no recompense. It's not like we were getting paid for this.
Yeah.
There's no recompense.
That's 100%. Without that.
There was guys like Alan Brown, Nottingham Woods receiver.
Yeah.
If we had the opportunities that these young guys have gotten now, like with the development squads and the NFL development business that they've got now, them guys, honestly, they don't understand how much of an opportunity they have right now.
Preach, Mark.
Honestly, we just turned up, trained, and played. I don't think I saw a sled until it was at least the year 2000. I've seen the pads, but we never actually saw a full-on sled. These AstroTurf fields and everything that they were playing in, we were rugby fields. Big long cleats like that. There you go. Yeah, cleats like high heels, like Louis Vuitton or high heels or something, because of the crappy fields that we played in. But you know what? They were all ballers and players. Everyone had each other's back, and everyone stuck their neck out for each other.
Yeah.
But as I said, the hits and the intensity, what I see when I've gone through a couple of games now, it was completely different then. Completely different. It was a lot harder.
So, Mark, do you remember? So sorry. So, do you remember? I just want to slightly change lanes, like, so I want to move on into your career. So, you played in Europe, in other European countries, because we've always talked about in that era, there was a lot of potential players that was playing in the British leagues that were, when they was finished playing in BAFA, they'd then go into Europe, play over there, on a contract, get paid for 4 or 5 months, then come back and so on. So, well, what was your narrative around that? I'm sure you played.
I went when I come from London, I went to Hallow first. Went to Hallow Rebels. So Robertson, Jim Robertson. I was with
But wind back, because you said when you come up from London, so that means you're talking about Monarchs.
Yeah. So he's talking about after Monarchs.
Sorry. So after Monarchs, in '96, I went to Europe to play. So I went to Germany first, and I went to play out there for coach. What are your London O's coach? The beard,
Rollins.
Lee Rowland.
Roland, because he was our head coach.
What team was this? Hanau Hawks.
Yeah, Hanau Hawks. That's it. So I went out to Hanau, and that was a whole new level for me, because that was literally like we were just talking. All I had to do was train and play football. I didn't have to get up for work. I didn't have to worry about work and the next day. And that was just a completely another level.
Mm-hmm.
But somewhere along the line, halfway through the season, I went through a spell where my confidence went. So the first game I played, I had 13 catches. 13 catches and we won. And it was against Crocodiles, some of the Crocodiles. And I remember the fans coming after, asking to sign a shirt and sign this and sign that. And people screaming your name.
Right? Completely different ball game over there.
Yeah. And I'm like, what? People waiting outside the changing room for you to come out. And they're like, oh, can you sign this? Can you sign that? And it was just, it was amazing. But like I said, halfway through, and it was mainly practice, my confidence just went. I was dropping balls all over the place. Easy stuff. And I mean, simple, easy stuff. And it got to the point where I got cut.
Oh, wow.
And coach cut me. And I was absolutely gutted and fuming at the same time. I think the fuming side of it was because of me. I knew what I could do. I don't know what was going wrong. I tried without gloves. I tried with gloves. I tried taping just your knuckles. I tried all sorts. And it was just up here. It just had gone. And I don't know what. And when I got cut, I thought, wow. But as I got cut on the Wednesday. I was leaving on the Friday. I was leaving on the Thursday. And then on the Thursday night, what I did, sorry, coach, about this, by the way, but I did. I ran up the hotel bill. Because I got on the phone and I was calling Europe. And I'm calling the whole of Europe. And I'm trying to find a team.
Okay.
And I found a team in Finland who turned around Helsinki. And they turned around and said, right, come over Friday. We've got a game on Saturday. If you're any good, we'll keep you. If you're not, you're on the plane on Sunday. So no pressure. And I remember getting off the plane at like 10 o'clock and my bag was left in London. So all my kit, everything was in London.
Yeah.
And that had to come across. The kit come at 2 o'clock in the morning. We played on the Saturday and we played against Helsinki Roosters. And we won. First time they'd beat them. I had 120 yards with 3 touchdowns. And he was like, you signed. And it just came, the confidence came back. But the level wasn't as high as Germany.
Yeah.
It wasn't as high as Germany. I would say it was the equivalent to playing at Bulls Olympians with a couple of players that were that little bit extra. Because Europe, they always have 3 or 4 Americans.
Yeah, the rule back then was six import players. So that could have been 6 E's, it could have been 6 A's, 3 A's.
Anybody, yeah. So that boosted my confidence back up. But what I did as well was the one thing I took for granted, I know we'll probably talk about London, the one thing I took for granted was training for the 96 season for the London Monarchs.
Yeah.
I didn't bother. I didn't start sprint training and running and all the rest of it till about a month before the tryouts.
So let me just press pause on that and rewind back a bit, because
yes,
what I'm going to ask you about is, where were you when you got that call, that invitation to go to Southern Park, South London in 1984 for those trials? It was the World League, but let's just call it NFL Europe because that's what it is, yeah? You know, where were you when you got that call?
Right.
Do you remember?
Just finished a night shift at Land Rover Jaguar.
Right.
And the thing with Land Rover Jaguar, I'd just been put on permanent nights, which was unlimited overtime. Okay. Everybody wanted the job. I just got the job. It was a Monday. I'd done my first shift Monday night. Tuesday morning, I came home. And at the time, I was living in Walsall. And a message on the landline phone. When I listened to it, and it was, can you come to London for a tryout for the London Monarchs? You need to be here and they gave me a time. So I rang Lee Enzo, who was the Birmingham Bulls manager, and I told him what had gone on. And he went, it's a wind-up. Someone's winding you up. There's no way you've got that call. Someone's winding you up, ignore it. He said, anyway, you're too slow. And I was like, well, you know what? I need to give it a go. I said, but I haven't got the money to get down there. He said, well, I'll tell you what then, I'll prove it's a wind-up. I'll give you the money for the train fare. He said, you give it me back double if it's a wind-up. I said, no problem. And I literally called the number, came down. I remember going to Crystal Palace and where you guys were all training. I remember standing on the sideline.
Southern Park. I'm sure it was Southern Park.
Southern Park, that's it. Sorry, my bad. Yeah,
It was
Southern Park.
Yeah, Southern Park.
And when I got there, I'll be honest, I say it now, it was the easiest trial I've ever had. Because while I was waiting, I remember Lionel Taylor. I remember seeing Lionel, and I remember Lionel from the training session that they had in Birmingham when I went for the tryouts. Because I was the only receiver that caught everything that was thrown to me. But I didn't get invited to the last tryouts, which I couldn't understand. But I knew because it's the 40.
The tryout in Southern Park was a closed invitation only. That was a final like workout. That was the final one. Yeah.
And then when I went, I was standing on the sideline, and it was Kevin McDougall who was on the sideline, one of the quarterbacks, because obviously we had Brad Pitt and we had the black guy, Kevin McDougall. And I said to him, can you throw me the ball, please? I just stood there catching the ball, bang, 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 standing a bit further back, kept catching the ball, turning my back to him, taking it over the shoulder, sideways. And then Lionel come up to me and said, right, run across the field. Just need you to run across the field. Quarterback's going to throw you the ball. It was Brad Johnson. He's standing 25 yards down. And I thought, he ain't going to reach me. My days, I ran across the ball and he threw the ball. It was like, bang. Jeez.
Smart. I want to ask you this. So at that trial, that was an intense trial because it was a closed invitation trial for that day. It was literally a 2-a-day for that day. There was lifting, there was sprinting, there was all the tests that you had to do for a workout. And then thereafter, we did some scrummage work, we did one-on-ones. How did you feel when you were working along the likes of like John Horton? John, because with NFL, it just come back in 95. It was put on pause in 1992.
Yeah.
Okay. It just came back in 1995. You had likes of Victor there. Yeah, the likes. And I tell you, I felt intimidated when Victor was there because I'm thinking this is a professional guy who's coming back to win one of these spots. I mean, how did that work with you on your mindset? Seeing John, Leroy Innes, top receivers jostling to try and win a spot. How did you feel?
I wasn't included in that one. That's what got me. I didn't get included in that.
Oh, you did?
I joined you. No, you guys had already played a game. And one of your receivers.
You're talking about, so you even, right, okay.
No.
He got injured.
No.
One of your receivers. So one of the receivers got injured. Lionel Taylor turned around and said, there is a black guy, a tall black guy up north who had great hands. And someone mentioned my name because Joe Greenwich, Jeremy, so there was Joe Greenwich.
That trial. He was one of the guys invited to that.
That's it. Joe Greenwich had gone. Jeremy had gone. God rest his soul, Leroy had gone. I hadn't been invited.
No. I've got a picture.
No,
picture
was
of
me.
Mark, Joe Greenwich, me, Jerry, and Victor in a huddle. In a huddle.
Yeah, but he didn't. He got his call from one of the national players getting injured.
Yes.
That's why.
So he wasn't outside the park.
No.
Right.
No.
Okay. So my mistake.
And that's why I was saying my trial was literally. I didn't realize they were watching me on the sideline because no one had told me to walk. I just stood there and I wanted the ball, so I got him to throw me the ball. I only had to run across the field 3 times.
That's what I say. Brad Johnson. He's talking about feet.
That's it. And that's why I was saying I just had to run across, catch the ball, and every time I caught it, I turned upfield, got back to the sideline. I probably did half an hour work at the most. Lionel went, go home, get 3 months worth of clothes. We're signing you.
Mark, I tell you, man, you came straight into week 1, right? You missed out on an important part of the process of professional group football. You wasn't around when we did passing camp. Passing camp was about 4 to 5 days of like 2-a-days. of 2-hour practices with, and that was run by Bill Walsh, God rest his soul, Hall of Fame head coach for the San Francisco 49ers. I took him to 3 Super Bowls. You would have been working with the likes of Brad Johnson. You would have been working with the likes of Gino Torretta. You'd have been working with the likes of Paul Justin. All these QBs, went on to play in the NFL. Yeah, so you would have benefited from that. That would have got you ready to go into camp and at the Falcons, right? We were using Atlanta Falcons facility. Yeah. 4 weeks there, pure 2-a-days, right? Hard-ass 2-a-days. That would have got you prepared for once you made the team and come back to London, you would have been up to speed. I guarantee you, if you were running a 4.65 or 4.55, that then
For sure.
it would have been virtually impossible, Mark, because it was very militant in camp. If you were on time, you were late. Yeah? If you were on time for a meeting, you were late. You had to make sure you were actually there 5 minutes early. Yeah. And that was how it was. So when you came to London in week 1, it was so hard. How did you adjust? How did you manage that?
It was a shock. It was a shock. I can tell you that now. It was a shock. When I got there, the way the practice sessions were run, I remember watching you guys, Rob. I remember watching the DBs. You lot were all like a family. All the DBs were together. They all ran together. They all trained. Everybody did. I would shout.
Those relationships were built in camp. Get it?
Exactly.
What they all went through. So those guys would ride and die for each other by the time we came to the season, right? Unfortunately, you never had that with receivers.
I was the outsider. I was this person that was coming in, and it was almost like, when you look at it now, it was almost like, how dare this guy come in now after we've done all the donkey work? Do you know what I mean? We've done all that work, and this bloke just comes walking in from Birmingham. Is that not had to do nothing at all, and he's signed up and getting the same money as us, and he's playing. And it was, for me, the biggest shocks were film and the intensity of the training.
Yeah.
Because it was literally, I was like, what? Even down to the food and everything that was just scheduled.
Yeah.
And as I was saying, it was hard. And honestly, film was the only time I panicked, because I knew Lionel Taylor would pick you up on anything. And the playbook, looking at a playbook as if to say, I'm used to a sail, I'm used to a one route, a quick out, or a fade. I'm seeing all these routes. I'm having to learn every single position, and I'm thinking, there's no way I'm going to do this. But I had to, because it was once in a lifetime opportunity. And that job that I had at Land Rover, I remember when I got the offer, and I went back to work, and we hold my job for 3 months. I've been offered to play American football for London Monarchs, and they went, no. If you leave, you're dismissed. I said, you know what? I will always get another job. I will never get another opportunity to play American football for a living. And I took it. But it wasn't easy. It was hard. It was definitely hard. And I didn't feel part of the team for a few weeks.
Oh, listen, and that's what, we were talking off camera about. That's the hardest part of it, because like Hutch was saying, that, you need that bond. You need that trust in each other to cover your back, as a DB, to cover your back. And, it's the same, when you're wide out. And the fact that you are coming in week 1, having to learn a playbook, and going through camp in ATL would have been, once you've done that, learning the rest of the stuff would have, it would have been a little bit easier. But you've come in and they just thrown everything at you. And and that was the first time that you've ever experienced anything like that.
Anything like it. Absolutely.
It must have been
so British. It was almost like we don't deserve to be on that field. I remember catching the ball in drills. I remember catching the ball against one of the American DBs, and they turned around and went, that doesn't count. He's British. You know what I mean? That doesn't count because he's British. And I'm thinking, hold on a second, I caught on your... And what I had to learn real quick was to stand up for myself and give back. Because I used to just take it on board. They used to take the mic. I remember running. Run, Forrest! I remember hearing it like it was yesterday. Run, Forrest! and I just ignored him. I thought, you know what, you lot crack on.
I tell you, Mark.
Now you said that, I remember it.
Well, I tell you, Mark. He had to deal with. He missed the relationship. I think. Yeah. With the players. He missed that with the coaches. You missed that with the playbook. I remember in camp in Atlanta when I got that playbook. But that playbook was over 200 pages, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is in camp, right? And I struggled with it, to learn it. It was like Russian at first, and after a while, I got used to it. And then there's more. You still had to grapple with the physicality on the field as well. So this game is, they say this game is about 75% mental, 8% mental, 10% physical, right?
Yeah.
If you get taken out of your game mentally, you're done.
Yeah.
So I do empathize with you with regards to the situation.
This is where
when
I loved
into that thing.
I've loved all the slating that I've got. I've heard it. The Cohen, you're a has-been. You're this, you're that, and the other. I used to thrive off that. I loved that. The more that I wanted to be the most hated player on the field, because you know what? The best way to respond was by scoring touchdowns. That was the best way to respond. I remember lining up on the sideline, and I actually ended up coaching him at Birmingham Lions, and he was a young DB, Danny somebody, and he stamped on my. I was lining up ready to go, and he stamped on my toe. All hadn't even been snapped. He just stamped on my toe, and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and I was like, "What was that for?" And he just didn't respond. And next thing I swam him, bang down the sideline, ball came, caught, scored. Yeah. The one thing I'll say, what a lot of people didn't realize, I do not understand defenses. If you was to tell me, I know a cover 2 and I know man, but you start all this other business, I haven't got a clue to this day. Wow. I haven't got a clue. I can tell you that now. I just knew where to be on that field to be open. If I had a 15-yard out, I knew if I could go deeper or shorter because I knew where the defense was going. But if you was to call it out to me, cover 2, high, sky, whatever, you may as well talk to me in Urdu, mate, 'cause I hadn't got a clue.
I tell you what, Mark. I tell you what, and I'm gonna tell you this.
Back to that, boy.
If you understood the secondary, if you could understand your pre-snap reads or see defense when you're lining up or when you're in motion and what's going on in the defense, Mark, that would have made your game so much more easier. If you understood what the defense was doing, what they were showing, what they were trying to disguise, how they lined up just before the snap, those things. If you understood that, and you know what? I'm very fortunate because I was around NFL Europe, I picked up on those things. And I was around some guys that helped me do that, to understand pre-snap reads and reading the defense.
He would have been able to do that at one seat.
If he went to camp, to a few camps, he would have picked all of that.
Because they would have talked about it in meetings, and then they would have
You have no choice.
They pointed out where the soft spot in the zones are and stuff like that. So you would have learned that in camp, without a doubt.
Mark, you know what, Mark? Jeff Reinbold. Well,
yes.
We did a podcast with Jeff Reinbold. Right? Jeff Reinbold, seasoned CFL, NFL, NCAA coach. You know, he's been around it for 40 years.
I know him very well.
You know what he said? He said, us European players, it was like going to Mars. You know, going from amateur football to professional football. He goes, there wasn't any support for us as European players back then. This is a coach, an American coach, you know, saying this.
Like that was so, like when you first put a helmet on, like that was so fun. That was like going to Mars, bro. I mean, that ain't. But
I know.
And just hearing that from someone like him, such a seasoned coach, he knew what we were going through in that era, you know, is huge. You look at football today, you look at the IPPP, right? International Player Pathway Program.
Yeah.
And it's leaps and bounds way ahead now for athletes to I'd say, fairly get a real good shot of making it in the NFL today.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's definitely off the back of the likes of you, me, Manuel, Victor,
Leroy
Gagne, Leland Brickus, Richard Yancey, the list goes on. Us European players that put the work in and show the NFL, guess what? There is talent outside those 50 states that can compete at this level. You're part
What I would say to, do you know what?
You're part
I would say to any child, anyone that's playing this game, any young athlete, any young adult that's playing this game, I do not care about your background, whether you came from the stable mother and father, and you've had three meals on the table every day, and you've had the latest clothes, and you always had the school uniform. I never had nothing. We never had nothing. My mom didn't even know I was playing American football until I went pro. She didn't even know I'd played, and I've been playing for 8-9 years. Okay, but if you can get to the level that I got to off my own bat by choosing myself to be the first on the training field and the last off, by knowing that I've got to go to the gym, I've got to stretch, I've got to do the plyometrics, I've got to put the effort in, then they can do it. And that's without all this help and support that they've got now.
Yeah.
The best thing I saw was a guy doing a training session with a camera on his helmet. And it was brilliant because he's running the route. If we had that in our day, it would be the easiest thing to coach and show, because this is how you run a post corner. This is how you run a combat. Look for the board and then bang and cut out. Ideal. The amount of technology that there is now and the amount of support that they've got now is through the roof. But they have to take that on board. It's not they deserve it. They have to earn it.
Well, that's their norm. That's what they've got around them now. It's their norm, and I really hope that these guys can hear this sort of thing and just really leverage it and take it home. But what's your biggest regret, man, in your football career? What's your biggest regret?
My absolute biggest regret was 1996 tryouts for London Monarchs, as I said, and not training, thinking because Lionel knew me, I was all right and I'd be in.
Yeah, I hear you.
That was a wake-up call and a half. Absolutely. It was a wake-up call and a half. That is probably out of all my career, because that hurt when I never made it back, and I loved it, and I knew that if I'd have gone back, I'd have been a better player than I was before. So taking that for granted, that's probably my biggest regret, to be perfectly honest with you.
I think it's a shame that you lived in Birmingham, because as soon as the season was done, myself, Hutch, Jerry, Victor, we all just got together, and we put in the time. We went down Thursdays, done our track work. Sunday, done our track work. During the week, Hutch would come down to, my brother's gym. We go and lift. It was just, it was too bad you didn't have that support. You live so far away. Because as soon as it was done, we was like, yeah, all right, we need to get back in. Because we knew what we had to do.
Yeah. And even though I'd had that experience, it was, I took it for granted. There's no one, I'm a man of my word. I've got no shame in saying it. I took it for granted. I thought, he knows me, I'll be all right. Yeah. Wasn't nowhere near ready. Training 4 weeks before and then trying the tryouts, still caught everything, but there was other guys are quicker than me. And if they're quicker, they can teach them to catch the ball. Of course they can.
Yeah.
Get it.
Speed was back then. You had to have at least some kind of speed.
Yes,
catching the ball. Yeah, that was great, but I think you had to have a little bit more than just being able to catch the ball.
Exactly. I totally agree.
We think about, because it's like, they were comparing us to American players. That's how I don't know if you remember how TA was telling us that we were scored. There was a way that it was scoring us. I can't remember exactly how it went.
I know what you're referring to. So you had an NFL score chart, and you were scored from A to D.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Yeah, from A to D, which consisted of 20-yard shuttle, 40-yard,
40-yard, your bench, or vertical jump.
I remember that, and we came out as A's.
Yeah.
From a physical perspective.
Yeah.
We came out as A's.
Yeah.
It's just the mental and football experience at that time.
Yeah.
I can say for myself, I didn't have enough at that time. By the time I got to season 3 and season 4, different story.
Like and that was myself. You know, it's my biggest problem was the playbook, and then once that sunk in, once I put it into my own perspective, you know, in what the plays were, because the plays are the same no matter where you go, and that's what they don't tell you until you learn it yourself.
Otherwise, I learned it different. Yeah, the teams. Yeah,
and once I learned it and sunk in, I just felt so much more comfortable. But I wanted to ask you a question, Mark. You know, when you got that playbook, you were used to playing one position. You know, they expect you to know every position across that field, across the board, if you're wide out. It don't matter where you're playing. You know, you need to know. Did you learn it like that, or are you still stuck to the one?
I stuck to one side. My best bet was stick to one side. There was no way I'd be able to learn all of that with the amount. So what I did is I learned inside and outside. And I used to hate being put inside because inside was kind of slower. You're a slot receiver, so you're in between a wide receiver and a tight end.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I used to hate it. I've never liked playing on the inside unless I had an out and up.
Right.
Then I would love it. Otherwise, I used to hate playing on the inside. But I learned the one side. And what I would do is I would just make sure whenever we went into the huddles, whenever we went into as like the team 2 backup, so the starting Ds were on or whatever, or the backups were on, that's when I would go in and then I would try and learn the other side. But as part of the backups, it didn't matter if I messed up then. But if I actually went in as the starters on the odd occasion, I'd go and take a play, I'd always make sure I went on the one side so at least I didn't get that side wrong. It was a lot of pressure. It was hard. It wasn't, I'll tell you, in the Monarchs was not enjoyable. I thank the good Lord that I was blessed to have that opportunity and it opened a whole load of doors for me. But it wasn't, from a personal perspective, it wasn't enjoyable until probably the last 2 games of that season.
Yeah.
When I finally found that
Period of time.
I was a playing catch. Yeah, of it.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
You had to use Z's to catch up.
And that would have happened. You see, so that incident would have happened in camp. You'd have come out of camp. All of that knowledge that you learned, like week 8, you'd have done that in the beginning because it was 6 weeks in total. No, that was just 5. It was 5 weeks in camp. I was in camp. Yeah. So you would have got all of that done in camp. Yeah. Probably taken another 2 weeks during the season for everything else to sink in.
So, man, I just want to change lanes slightly. Still stick with American football, though. Just one more question around it, man. It's about British American football today. Yeah. What's your views on British football today? Let's just stick with the Premiership. You know, there's other pillars, but let's just stick with the Premiership. What's your view when you go to a game today or this year, for example, and you see the output on the field? I mean, what's your view?
I know we all say it's not like it was when we played. I understand that, and these young lads get kind of sick of hearing that, but it really isn't. I've taken my boys to watch Birmingham, and to watch other teams. I've watched Nottingham, and there's no disrespect to the guys whatsoever, but when you are there and people are interacting with their loved ones, you know. They do a play, they come off and they're interacting with the loved ones, having a bit of a laugh and joke with the loved ones, and the game's still going on. Or someone will get a hit and then they're off and their pads are off straight away. And I'm kind of like, what? Hold on a minute, man. I'll play. That's why I probably shouldn't coach. Could be like, get that shit back on. We ain't finished. What's the matter with you? You've just been hit. And it's different, but at the same time, what really is the incentive for him? Because all I hear is the subs going up and up and up and up and up.
Yeah.
But what are they getting for it? And where are they going? I know you've got the national program, and I know they've got this door into the NFL, which is great. But that's for a very minute select few. We were one of 7 British. When I tell my kids this, we were one of 7 British people to play professional American football. That's how many people when you look at how big that is and how vast that is, that's massive. I just wish that the powers that would be would do more for sponsorship. I remember seeing a thing on Facebook that said somebody playing for the national team doing a GoFundMe page so he could go and represent his country. What is that about, man? That should not be there. There's got to be the money there somewhere for them to do that. They need to. Otherwise, the game's just going to implode. So, but how do we get that? How do we get that support? The universities, when I had a stint with the university in Birmingham Lions, they seem to have that backing because they've got the university funding. That was brilliant. I wish I'd have gone to university, because if I'd have played at that level at university, man, I'd have made Monarchs every season.
Yeah.
You know, but the game now, I just feel for the guys, there's nothing that's given back to them, which then makes some of them play half-hearted. And the one thing I would say to them, this is a dangerous sport. You're only one hit away from possibly being paralyzed. So you've got to be switched on 24/7. You can't be taking a play off on the sideline. Oh, did you like my hit? Did you see my catch? Or whatever. You know what I mean? You've got to be switched on, and you've got to fight for your teammates. You've got to be there for each other.
It's a contact sport without a shadow of a doubt. A hard contact sport, and you got to understand what you're lining up for. At the end of the day, this sport isn't for everyone. Yeah, and I'm sure you know this sport isn't for everyone. You got to have a mindset. You're going to have a specific type of mindset to play this game. And it's, like I said, it's not for everyone. But yeah, man, look, you know, life after football, because, you know, in some of our podcasts, we've sat down and got to the coaches and players about this sort of thing. And it leaves a void. It does leave a void. What did you know, we talked about the void it left for us. I mean, what did it do for you? Once you stopped playing, I mean, was there a void? If there was a void, what did you use to like fill that void? If there was one.
Well, I obviously retired 3 times, and every time there was another incentive to come back. The last incentive was no one's ever scored 100 touchdowns for a team, and I was on 92 at the time. So I went back to Cobb again. That was 2010. I ended up with 106 touchdowns for him in total.
Right.
When I finished, I had that. I thought, that's it. I'm done. Can't play no more, whatever. But I still had that desire to try and help. So that's why I went to Birmingham Lions and went and was a receivers coach at Birmingham Lions. I had three seasons there with them. That was brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant. I felt like I gave something back.
Yeah.
I remember one of my receivers, he ran a fade, and then the ball came over, easiest of touchdowns, and he dropped it. And he's there like, and he's gone on the floor, and he's banging out. Straight on, I said, get up, back in the huddle. And I said to the offensive coach, do me a favor, call the play again. Give it him again. He's just dropped the ball. Give it him again. Mm-hmm. And they threw exactly the same pass, exactly the same route. And the boy made one hell of a diving catch and caught it. You know what he done? He spiked the ball. He come running over, and he went, "That's for you, coach," and give me a great big hug. I was nearly in tears, but it was about the confidence in getting back. Do you know what I mean? But then when the coaching finished, I've kind of had to concentrate on my family.
Yeah.
Because my oldest boy, who's now 30, he grew up with me with American football. He used to come to all the games. He's had the ball, he's had my pads and all the rest of it. My younger two now, my 16-year-old, what was he now? He was 4 at the time. And I knew I couldn't put back in what I used to. When I coach, it's the same as when I play. It's 100% or nothing. Yeah. And I couldn't, I'll do this week, but I can't do next week. I can't do Sunday, I'm out with the family. I couldn't do it, so I couldn't commit that time no more. Yeah. So what I did is I spent more time actually raising my boys than I did going to football and watching them grow and them having a father. So that I can spend that time with them, because my older son missed out on quite a bit due to the fact that I was always away and I was always training, I was always playing. So you like, you know, the whole perspective of life changes. You're only here once. It's no dress rehearsal. Make the most of it.
Yeah. You've only got a window of opportunity, right? You've only got
Absolutely.
a window of opportunity, and once you get past a certain age, or once you physically can't do it anymore, you physically cannot do it anymore.
Yeah, mentally we all can. Mentally, the 3 of us sitting here going up and still up. Okay, but you know what? The following morning, he's going to tell you something
He's on a different level.
So yeah, man. So look, man, you're retired now, and you know, family life and looking after family, etc. And then you know, this is a subject that you wanted to talk to us about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's about, when, well, basically in the Birmingham Mail website, it states about an incident that you was in, something to do with arson, about you torching a Land Rover, part of a campaign of terror against employees in a construction firm. Bro, how do you get involved in something like that, man?
Right. So after American football, I've always done it. Close protection, and I've done close protection for years.
Right.
My license cost me $2.5 grand. I've looked after Will Smith. I've looked after Jerry Halliwell. Atomic Kitten. Looked after all of them. I used to do the clothes show. I was looking after a client, and he had a construction business, and it was Fortel, and they had a contract with McLaren. Now, somewhere between the line, there was an argument over money, over a £2 million contract that was owed to Fortel. The way that the police portrayed it, it was a revenge because they hadn't been paid. What they didn't tell everybody is actually it had been settled up. I was accused of arson of a vehicle, of a Land Rover that was apparently burnt on someone's drive, and the Land Rover next to it caught. And what they were saying is, your phone was in the area, and also we had 2 text messages off your phone, barbecue tomorrow, and something like an hour after the fire, barbecue done. Now, what they didn't retrieve was the other 19 or so messages to do with the barbecue, about who was coming, why we was having it, what to bring, what not to bring, where it was, because that didn't fit with their case. And I know what it feels like to be accused of something that you haven't done, because I am part of that. The problem I have with that, and it's the way that the papers portray things as well, because the owner of the vehicle, when he was showing my picture, he went, "Oh, no, that's The Rock. He looks after us. He would never do it." The fire officer that said it was arson never got to see the car. He was brought in 14 months after the car had gone. The police brought him in, briefed him on a case that they were building, and then he said, "Oh, it was arson."
Right.
The Ort case was a farce. When I was arrested back in 2016, I was told, "We know it's not you. Give us his name. We can put you in a safe house. We can look after you." And I said, "I can't give you what I don't know." "Well, then you'll take the rap." I said, "As I said, I can't give you what I don't know." And when there was 5 of us in the dock, I was found guilty. Okay. What can I do about that? I've got one more appeal, which is with a company called the CCRC. So I have one more appeal that I can put in. But in the meantime, I have to get on with life. And it's actually been a kind of a blessing in a sad way. Because, one, we introduced American football to the prison that I was in. And the guys absolutely loved it. We were trying to play flag football, and they absolutely loved it. But also what it's done is it makes me go around to some of the schools, especially where I am up here in Birmingham, with the kids that have been excluded. Yeah. So I've gone in, and they've done an assembly about like sports people or whatever. That's what I do. And this is exactly what the courts did and the papers did. They wanted to show this picture of the fallen superhero, the bodyguard come professional American football player who's now hit the dumps and he's turned to crime kind of thing. So what I've done is I've turned it back on them and I use it. And I go to kids in problem schools, kids who have been excluded. Anyone out there that's got a school or works in a school or is with a group of kids in a community that need a talk, I'll be more than happy to go and talk to them. More than happy. Because 2 things, prison is a waste of life. It's not hard, it's a waste of life. To be away for your family like I was for 18 months, plus COVID came as well, was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, to be away from my wife and kids. All right. But at the same time, I said the good that came out of it is to show people that it's not as hard as you get knocked down, it's how quick you get up. Because I came straight out and I got a job. I got a job with the NHS. Because my old boss from Birmingham, who knew all about the conviction, knows me personally. So she gave me a job. And then the job I'm in now, which is HR.
Having a good network around you, right? Who you know, man. People that know you.
No, it is. And
not only that, the fact that he was not willing to stay down. You know what I mean? He came out. I'm not having it. I'm going to do what is right for me and keep on fighting. Good on you, Mark.
You know what I still get? I still get people now, right? One of the guys that will watch this knows who he is when he messaged me on Facebook. Because Bristol were in the final. And me being the banter king, false book it is, not Facebook, it's false book. And until people realise that, all right? But I remember saying to Bristol lads, I said, oh my God, you guys are going to be the most, you're going to have the record for coming up runners up again. You see, and I put that on there because unfortunately for Bristol Aztecs, they seem to get to finals and just don't quite pass that finishing line. And the comment he came up was, we'd rather have that than most prison sentences. Yeah. And I thought, you know what? Wow. But that's fine. You keep that. Okay. But it does come up when people Google you. Yeah. I've had work colleagues who, because I'm in HR and I'm hiring and firing, I've had work colleagues who've Googled my name and then tried to tell my managers and my seniors. Okay. I've already disclosed that before I even joined because the one thing is you've got to be honest. Yeah. I've already disclosed that. Good. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
You do. And that's what I've done. And I let my work do the talking. I'm not a victim. Okay. All police are not the same. I don't hate all police. I don't hate all authority. What's happened has happened. There is nothing I can do about that now. Yeah. But the past is the past. I've still got a future. I've got a great job. I've got a wonderful wife. I've got amazing kids. And I'm blessed by the Lord because I've got my health. I've got my wealth. So I'm blessed. I'm still here. There's people like God rest his soul, Gary from you guys, Leroy, great players who should still be here with us sitting at that settee having this conversation, but unfortunately they're not here. So I'm blessed. I'm glad what happened. I'm not happy at the outcome, but it is what it is. But I will use it for the benefit because I will help people the best way I can by showing them I've hit rock bottom. I've sat in a cell with the devil sitting next to me, and I've come out and I'm back on my feet better than before I went in.
So tell us about City Blinds. So what is City Blinds? Is like your own company? Is it?
It's my business. So it's a business that I've got that I set up 2010.
Right.
Because my ex-wife at the time was a letting agent. So she said, "Do you know anyone that does blinds?" I went, "No, but let's Google it," and we did.
Okay.
Cinema. I thought, let's try them. So we ordered some, and I just got into it. It's absolutely just snowballed ever since.
Right. So that's what you use.
So it's a sideline that I
sideline. So there you go, man. So you're doing with the HL stuff and the blinds. Yeah, that's what you can do. You please, right?
That's what I do. That's what earns the bills. That's what pays for these £140 bloody boots that I have to pay for my little boy. You know what I mean?
Mark, it's been blessed, man. I appreciate the time, etc. We know this Zoom call is going to cut off again, so I don't want it to cut off again without us saying, thank you for your time. Thank you for, you sharing your American football narrative, and
for your ups and downs.
Your ups and downs in the personal piece. You didn't have to do that. I want to, but
guys, I really appreciate. I appreciate the time. Appreciate the time you guys are doing, and just keep up the good work, man. Keep up the good work what you're doing. All right. And if there's anything I can help with, please ask. Or any of the guys out there, if there's anything we can help with, by all means, I will do if I can.
All right, bro. Appreciate that, man.
All right.
Well, that once by that time, right? It is that time because I had your baby over there rumbling, bro. It's fine now.
Jets, you've been a blessing. You can take care of yourself.
I just hear the mad belly over here rumbling. That's why I always say this shit now. Good rice, good meat, good God. Let's eat.
Thank you, Marky Mark.
That's smart.
All the best, gents. You look after yourself.
That was great.